So this is going to be the video celebrating Turdz' games, but unlike all the others, I'm not going to pick out games of his I think were specifically really great or anything like that. I'm just playing his most recent games because there's an open GB this week and he's doing awesome. So there's no cherry picking. We're just going to look at whatever games happened and see how great Turdz plays. So it's a level 1 rule set, all rules on except elemental. I think it's been pretty interesting to play. A lot of it comes down to overpowering, and the strength difference between cards can just be enormous. Like, there are cards that are 5/4/2/2s, excuse me, that's just really powerful. And then there are cards like 3/3/2/1. And you compare those cards, and it's not a fair fight. Also, it is really easy to end up with directional weaknesses, where maybe you have a 3 or a 4 in every direction, but maybe your second best number in a direction is like a 2. And if the opponent can force the game in that direction, it can be really difficult. I think this has made it quite a technical set where it's been very difficult for a bunch of people, but if you have a good feel for the directionality of the game, you should be very hard to beat and able to press advantages. So here Turdz' first turn. I've found first turn difficult but rewarding, which is to say, I think it can be really hard to find good starters because the cards can be clunky and just not fit nicely. But if the opponent has a directional weakness, first turn has more opportunity to try to exploit that. And here Turdz plays 3/4/2/4 and 7, which looks pretty logical to me. DJ's highest number down is a 3. So if he is to deal with this, he'll have to play a setup move. That 4/1/2/5 and 4/2/1/5 are pretty redundant as well. It is possible I put in some of the hands wrong, though I don't think so. So the first move that jumps out is this one, but I think this is risky. Imagine if Turdz played something like here, DJ takes, and Turdz goes here. This looks very good for him. So I could see it being hard to do that setup, and it is also difficult if you want to try to set up in 1. Maybe you could, no, you can't take that back. So this looks like a difficult move to meet for me. Maybe this move makes sense. What did DJ do? DJ went far corner, which is very reasonable. If you can kind of create a similar challenge for them that they've created for you, this can be very good. Turdz has no capture from 2. And Turdz just goes into. Yeah, I sort of saw this and was a little confused, but the solver is telling me this move is good. Let's figure out why. Did he make it difficult for DJ to occupy 6 and lock his card in? Kinda, yeah. If he puts 2/4/3/3 there, that's vulnerable to combos. If he puts 1/5/2/2 there, that's going to surrender. I thought it surrendered too much right power. I'm not sure it does. I would say the main moves here for DJ are 1 and 6. And probably both of them are okay. This game does look headed to a tie to me. DJ takes here, and my thought was Turdz' idea would be to go in 9 and lock in that card in 6. But DJ has 5. So this is not at all trivial for Turdz to play. There are pretty few ties, says the solver. And Turdz plays the really interesting, yeah, this was a complicated game, 4/4/3/2 and 4, which is one of the ties, nicely setting up that plus in 5. There's kind of nothing for 1 in 1 for either player, nothing really desirable. And DJ does not have 5 shared near as strongly. This doesn't combo everything. Huh. You don't see this setup very much. I think you most often see it out of a move order like 3, 7, 2, 4, and then 6. This is a very odd way to get here. Looks like both players played this game nicely. DJ does occupy 5, which was one of the very few ties. Turdz takes 1, and 4/3/1/3 will snag a card at the end. Turdz opens with a tie. So we're not going to win every game, but that's okay. We're not even cherry picking. And one thing I really like about Turdz' games is you really often get creative move orders. Like 1/4/3/4 and 2 is apparently a good move, you know, it creates difficulty for the opponent. They have trouble capturing because we have combos back. And they definitely don't want to capture from 5 because that'll concede 6. So it's noting that this card is safer than it initially looks. And I think that's a difficult move to play. One other thing I like about it is it says 3-4-2-4 is hard for you to deal with. And I don't really want to play more cards near it. You know, if something like this landed in 5, suddenly that sets the opponent up in 4, right? If this landed in 5, if this landed in 5, all these cards set up DJ in 4. And by playing away from that, he makes it more likely that it will be, you know, there won't be a setup against it in that square. All right, so that's our first game. So we start off with a tie. 1 tie for the good guys. And 1 tie for our villains. Our second game will be against Yevon, who absolutely dominated the fun OpenGB, and if not all the videos are up about that, there will be videos specifically about Yevon there. So look forward to that. And we're up to game 2. Turdz will be the second turn player, and Yevon starts with a side starter. Now, normally, I think Yevon's side starters are designed to control the neighboring squares, such that if you play next to it, you don't have safety there. He has a way to attack it. Here, it seems like Turdz has a whole number of ways to play safely next to it. But the question will be, can Turdz set up a favorable L? So he starts in 9, which usually suggests he's seen the L in 6. And he gets rid of his weakest card. He doesn't really care about capturing. He's much more looking for setting up to threaten 5 later. And so you're just trying to get rid of your worst card here. Better to use this than, say, that one. Yevon goes safely in 7, which is logical. And has he found a setup in 5? He has found a setup in 5. And it was very important here to hold on to 5-2-4-1. So this is tricky, though, intuitively. Again, haven't looked at these games before, because Turdz does not have the recapture in 3. So he not only has to have a threat in 5, he has to control what Yevon can do in 5. And it looks like he does, right? This one is comboed back this way. This one is comboed back this way. And this one is also comboed back this way. So he spotted from a distance that he's going to have both a huge threat in 5 and a same is a great threat. And if he plays 5, that locks in 6 too. And that Yevon can't occupy that square. Or has great difficulty. Yevon does occupy 5, but I suspect this is already winning. I'm incorrect. Yevon has 1 save here. And not surprisingly, it is the safe move. This would have been the 1 save, but I assume this is not obvious to save either. Yeah, the only save here is this. And you set up sames and pluses at the end. That's very hard to see at distance. So yeah, no surprise. Yevon tries to block 5. There's no other way to create threats. And Turdz combos back, and I think that's just game. We'll look at how it ends. 2-3-3-4 and 2. And we get a 6-4 win. Really nice win by Turdz. He is the preeminent player of the adjacent corner, as I said, but this is another against corner starters, but against side starters, this is a way to set up an L. And he astutely noticed, where's my L setups going to be? Maybe I have one here, setting up 5-2-4-2 and 5. Maybe I have this one here, setting up 5-2-4-1 and 5. Where do I want my cards to be? Well, I want to control them going in 5 as well, and found this really nice setup where he sets up his L, but he also sets, so he hits 5, but he also sets it up so Yevon can't play 5. Really nicely done. Turdz is a master of the L formation. All right, so we have 1 win, 1 tie. We move on to game 3. And we are facing Doomtrain. And I'm putting in the cards. Apologies for the delay. We're going to see some weird hands for both players because hands are so inconsistent here, right? It's so easy to have directional issues or cards that are not even dual directional. Like these 1/6s you can see in both players' hands are really limited in what they can do. I did see a bit of this one. Doomy started in 5, and I think 5 is a little better on this set than it normally would be. Especially with the kind of side-to-side hitters, it sort of gives targets. Now, apparently, Turdz should have gone here, which I was considering actually when watching this game. I thought the point is they can't take this way, or it's hard to take this way because it's comboed. And if they don't play in 3 immediately, we're gonna block 3 and start locking in cards pretty easily. But Turdz instead went for 4-1-4-3 here, which I was really looking like, I was thinking you want to go in 2 or 8, because I thought with the 1-2-1-6 and the 1-6-1-2 in Doomy's hand, you want to make the game up down and that'll punish it, which is why I was looking at here and here. And so Turdz went a really different direction, which surprised me, but also it's safe, right? So it was a much better move than I thought, and I just wasn't considering it because I was only looking at options in 2 or 8. Now, tellingly for my center attack propaganda, the only ways for Doomy to tie now are grabbing safety. But this looks very bad, right? Because Turdz can grab safety in return, has 2 cards safe, and this kind of position just seems somewhat difficult to tie, right? Maybe you can go for a T, but you don't have great, 4-3-2-1 isn't that good side to side. Maybe it's enough here. This is probably a tie? Yeah. That's a tough position to go for, though. Just looks very dangerous. Doomy mirrors, which looks logical, right? Creating safety of his own, but is actually losing here. And Turdz now plays 2 and is completely winning, with the point that he has combos everywhere, right? He has 2-3-3-4 for 1, he has 4-2-1-3 for 3, and Doomy has none of those. And so I think Doomy made like a center starter with a hand that looked kind of messy, kept the game side to side, and took safety, and is suddenly lost, which is one of the reasons this level 1 stuff can be so tricky to play, because I've seen a bunch of games where very natural, normal-looking moves haven't worked. But so far, Turdz has been playing all the kind of correct ideas. Doomy attempted to block 1, get rid of some of the combo squares, and make sure that 4 is safe, because Doomy can't recapture 4, so this seems a very logical way to play it. Turdz takes 3, and Doomy's side-to-side sweepers are not quite good enough. He goes for 1-2-1-6 and 9, and I believe is met by 2-3-3-4 and 7, and Turdz gets his second win. So he's up to 2 wins and a tie. Again, these are uncherry-picked games. They're quite good. I really like the move in 2 here. I find line situations tough to look at because every move seems to me to have a bunch of potential replies. Like, my instinct is to check kind of corners first, but then there's here, occasionally there's something here, and there's just a lot of moves to check in a way that I have trouble clarifying into what to look for. And Turdz quickly and effectively found a really nice winning line. So 2 wins and a tie. Against good opposition, and the opposition will stay tough mostly. Our game number 4 is going to be against RandomHero. And Turdz will be the first turn player again. I'm very curious to see what kind of starters we see out of him, because I think starting on this set is quite difficult. What have we seen so far? Oh, oops. I just opened the same game again, I think. 1 sec. Or a similar game. I didn't change the blue hand. My bad. 1 sec. I am very good at technology. No, looks like we had it. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. So what have we seen so far for starters? He had first turn against DJ and specifically played against the directional weakness. And he has had second turn twice since. This is his second first turn. If we look at the hand, got a kind of weird polarization going down where there's a 6 and a 5, but then there's nothing, right? And you're going to see a lot of that. Or to the right, there's a 5 and a 4, but then there's 3 2s, which can make it potentially easy to set up pluses. If we look at RandomHero's hand, it looks like a little bit of an up weakness, so I'm expecting Turdz to start high. I am incorrect. Alright, a recapturable corner that creates difficulty for a RandomHero who cannot take from 6. And his somewhat limited captures from 8 as well. This definitely counts as a strong corner for this set. But yeah, no, it makes sense. There's multiple recaptures, enough that you can show a variety of numbers that I think avoids getting you comboed, right? Because like if we look at something like they capture here, combo back, right? But you have the secondary capture, and I don't think they can set up against both. Also, they had this combo here. And so just making sure that all your recaptures are very secure, because with so few numbers on level 1, it's so much easier for them to line up in weird same plus ways and to be able to control space through that. And we saw that in the really good win against Yevon out of that L, where Turdz controlled everything Yevon could put in 5, because Yevon only had 2 potential numbers facing left, and Turdz had nice pluses against both. So RandomHero does take, I assume we'll recapture from 6. We gotta avoid combos, so we can't do this one, because that gets hit hard. So we take back this way, and Turdz does. Yevon goes in, RandomHero goes in 5. And now we should be trying to find a win, I think, right? We have the only secured card, they don't have any, and in either 3 or 7, we can immediately secure another card, or we can go in 1 if we think we have sufficient kind of sweepers for the end game. How to do it, though. I don't love our captures in 7. Our only capture in 3 they can combo. So I don't know if there's a win here. Maybe that means you do go 1. Because any time where you're like, I want to go 3, but they combo it, how do I get 2 blocked? The answer is kind of go in 1. And then anytime they go in 2 or 3, you get to go in the other, and they don't get to reply. Turdz does go in 1. Cool. And that sets up a nice plus in 2. Okay. So this move also concedes a pretty big combo. And potentially isn't working here. So if they block 3, right, you can't go here because you're comboed back so hard. So you can't occupy 2. So I think, yeah, this would win for RandomHero. Turdz did mention he had a position where he thought he was lost after move 5, but was specifically trying to play the opponent and create winning chances in complications. And RandomHero did immediately go for the capture, and now Turdz's trap has worked because he hits back with this combo, and he's suddenly winning. So I think this was an interesting practical play against an opponent really prone to capturing, noticing if I go here, there's only 1 capture on board, or 1 capture type, either here or here, and I have good responses to those. I have this combo in 2. So making a move that is wrong, but practically attuned, I would not make this type of move. If I saw that it was losing, if I didn't see it was losing, sure, I would make it. But it is an interesting play. I didn't really know this was in Turdz's arsenal to make moves because he mentioned, he said, if you look through these games, you're going to see me losing after move 5 in one of them. But this is not a position Turdz had to be lost in, right? Really interesting practical play. And we move up to 3 wins and 1 tie. And we're going to have a rematch with Yevon now. Again, I wouldn't have done the video this way. I would have really tried to seek out what I thought his best games were if I hadn't already done so much content on Turdz, and if he wasn't absolutely destroying a current event. And I think level 1's interesting. It's also a level where it's easy to get cards that are just clearly better versions of each other. So if we look at this one, we can see Turdz's top 2 cards, just like one of them is a better version of the other. And that comes up quite a bit. So Turdz is our first turn player. And where's the directional weaknesses in Yevon's hand? I see a lot of weakness going up. There's just the 4, and otherwise the highest is a 2. The right is pretty strong for the standards of level 1. Going down is very strong, I think, and going left quite strong. So really want to try to direct the game a bit up. And Turdz goes 4-2-1-3 in 1. And yeah, even a 1 facing down creates real problems, The point is not so much that the 1 is incredibly hard to take, though it's not easy. It's that if we make more targets upwards, all of them are hard to take, and it's so easy for Yevon to run out of power. I think Yevon smartly goes in 9 here. You know, take the kind of pseudo-safety easy card to lock in. There's a big threat now to go in 8 and lock it in forever. Turdz has to be very careful with his 2 side-to-side 6 cards, because, you know, if Turdz goes in, I don't know, like 2, right? And Yevon goes in 3. Suddenly those cards are probably dead going up and down there, and he just has to be very careful with how the game ends up directed. So, what do we do here? He goes in 4. Well, this makes more sense, right? Because the sort of half space he's created potential safety for the opponent in is 7, and the 6s really do cover 7. Though this is, of course, dangerous too, because even if this one, the 1-2-2-6 finds use, the one, you know, Yevon goes 7, Turdz takes from 8, the 1-6-1-2 could easily be dead. So we still got to be really careful here. Yevon locks in the card, which makes sense. And now what can we do? There's a serious up weakness. So if we just take from 3, that card will be safe. But Yevon has made sure to set up a plus in 5. So what we could do is maybe we go in 3, Yevon takes the plus in 5, and then we go in 6, and we will have at least 3, 5, and 6 locked in. And if we can take one thing on the last turn, we have at least a tie, and if we can take 2 things, we win. So I would bet Turdz goes in 3, yeah. Yevon presumably is going to take 5. He doesn't take 5. Does 5 not work? 5 doesn't work. Ah, I missed this. Because the plus also flips 9. Ah, nicely spotted. Right, yeah, I didn't see this at distance, but that makes this a win. Because 5-2-2-2 can even pick up this card here. So it's going to pick up at least one more card. Okay. So Yevon can't go in 5. He sees that. He goes in 7 instead, very smartly, and gets a tie. So I think Turdz did a really nice job of making sure the 1-6s would have use, because I think it's so easy, and we saw it with Doomtrain the other game. It's so easy, even though Doomtrain made the game side to side, for them to just run out of things they can do, because single direction cards are just so... what's the right word? They have so much potential to become completely inactive in a position. And yeah, I think he found really nice ways to keep them alive and to keep them having threats. Like he used the 1-6-1-2 to cover the potential of going in 5 here, which was Yevon's obvious move. So we move to 3 wins and 2 ties. It is possible I'm missing games. I don't necessarily have all his games. And we move on to a game I have looked at because I played it. And again, Turdz will show off his mastery of the L here. Spoilers. So I had first turn. I didn't think too much here. I thought the hand sort of played itself. I don't like side starters, but it was just so clear. I have good recaptures 2 different ways, with 1-2-6-2 or with 4-2-5-2. I don't see any setups for him in 4 or 6 to threaten 5 seriously. So I'm just going to have an easy time locking this in if he takes. Turdz does take. I take back. It was automatic. But Turdz had thought during my turn and on his about what his L was going to be. And he came up with a really interesting move. 3-2, 4-2, and 6. And if we think of L's as the main point is to lock in a card, this does not do that. But if we think of L's as the main point is to control 5, this kind of does do it. Because my redundant 2s to the right make it really hard for me to ever go in 5. And so he controls that square. I also think I have trouble going in 9 because he can just take it. And the great thing about this 1s is it's so easy for him to take back. And I still can't go in 5 because he always has the combo back. you know, I can tie there, I guess, but like I'm never pushing for a win by going in 5. And I don't know, I just thought he had this really nicely worked out where I can't really go 9. He has 5 really well controlled. I was tempted to go 4 just to block his combo back square so I'd have a threaten 5, but it didn't seem like it did much, and it did lock in his card for him. So I thought this was a really cool L because it was very much not the standard one. You know, the standard one is you play in 1 and you follow up with 4, and he followed up in 6, but I couldn't find anything here. I ended up sticking my other card in 5, and he takes safety in 9. Few ways to tie here. I thought 4-3-3-2 and 7 was cute because 4-2-5-2 has combos in both remaining squares. He blocks 4, and we have a tie. And he said after the game, he looked at the hands and he thought there's just no way I'm winning this game. That hand with its 6s, with its 5, with powerful cards like 4-3-3-2 is just much more powerful than my hand. I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to force a tie. And I think he did a really nice job of it here with, again, this very non-standard L, but a really nicely worked out one. I think so much of the key of this rule set has been figuring out the directions so that you're left with cards that sweep at the end, and just making the pluses and sames work. And here, he had the pluses and sames figured out a lot better than I did, and so even though I had a really nice hand, he had a comfortable path to a tie. So I think we're up to 3 wins and 3 ties. I only have 2 more games of his, which means I'm missing 3. So because I know what his record after 11 games is, this means I'm missing 3 of his wins, actually. So we have 3 wins and 3 ties so far. Imagine he's at 6 wins and 3 ties, and we are now taking second turn in our final game versus Yevon. Putting in the hands. And this is going to be our second to last game of the video, I think. And Yevon goes first. Yevon goes in 2. Yevon likes these side starters. And Turdz usually will respond going in the touching corner. And this both has the potential for immediate safety, but again, Turdz is master of the L. He's usually doing it to set up an L. So which square do we have the better L set up from? Is it 4 or 6? Is it 4 or 6? This sets up an L, right? You know, we'd block 4 first, but I'm saying 1 first, but then this card goes here. That sets up a threaten 5. That is not shared. This also sets up a threaten 5. Do we have any ways in 6 to set up a threaten 5? Here or here. So I could see Turdz starting in either 1 or 3. He also, though, has to, importantly, if he starts with 2-2-6-1, it would have to start here. Right? No, it wouldn't. It can't go in either. It's plus walled. My bad. So if he starts with here, he has to be able to combo back 6-2-4-1. Or at least have some kind of setup. Well, I'm not seeing it immediately. So I'm betting he goes here because then he has this against the capture. And if Yevon does his own one, we can play here, setting up a threaten 5. And Yevon cannot take that threaten 5 because of this. That's my guess. I'm guessing we play 1-2-5-3 in 3. And I'm wrong. We play 1-2-5-3 in 1. Huh. So if this is comboed, what is our point? Could it be here? That seems probably pretty good, actually. Huh. That's very complicated. But you have the combos in both 3 and 5. And the combo in 3 is not shared. and the combo in 5 is only partially shared. And you can do it different ways. You can do it with the 1-2-2-4, but you can also kind of do it with the 1-1-2-6, depending on how many extra cards you want to flip. Yeah, what's the AI say? That does tie and maybe apply some pressure. Interesting. All right. Well, I would have been scared off this move. I wouldn't have checked it as deeply as Turdz has done here. Yevon recaptures, and now Turdz has options of the L. Does he want the L here? Probably not. They get to 5 first. So I guess we're going to go for an L in 4. Yeah. And we could do it with either card. So which card is more important to hold on to? My instinct is you play this one so you can recapture it. Turdz goes with this one, which means, again, he's checked the numbers in the combos. Yeah. And because Yevon only has these ones to the left, he only needs to control one card, and he does control it. Interesting. It's so interesting. It's so, like, offbeat to me. You know, again, if you've looked at the game for a bit, it's easier to see, but when you're quickly moving through games, a move where, they have the capture here and you don't, just seems weird to make. But if you control any way they can touch it, this looks very strong. And I think Yevon is under a ton of pressure here. The AI is saying any move in 5 loses. For instance, if we go here, I think Turdz just plays in 6, just going up a massive amount. Any move in 7 is losing to 5, I think. There's no combo back there ever. So Yevon tries to complicate with 5, 2, 4, 1, and 9. And I guess the point is, if you go for the combo, I get you back. So it's hard for you to immediately take. And if you go for this combo, I got the square for an exchange for it. And again, I have some combo back potential. And this is just a tie, right? So this is a clever try from Yevon. Where does Turdz play? 1-1-2-6 in 5, setting up the big plus in 8, which means Yevon cannot safely play in 6. Very nicely done. Yevon goes in 7, and Turdz takes 6, which he now can take to win 6-4. Really good move in 5. Yeah, that's not a trivial spot, even with just 4 moves left. Because it's so, like, you want to go here, or you want to go here. Yeah. Nice move. We got one last Turdz game. He's now up to 7 wins and 3 ties, which is an insane record given that he's played, Yevon 3 times. He's played me. He's, played Doomtrain. Here's a game against Addy. I think Addy is a very solid player. I think in open, he's sort of a high tie rate type player. I think he's really good at neutralizing advantages and not as clinical at converting them. And so I think he's just in general a tough person to grab wins against. Addy is first turn. He starts in 7. Oh, look at Turdz' hand. That's weird. I saw the chat, I think, on this one, and it was very much going, how am I going to make this work, right? And I'm having the AI check it, but the AI thinks, yeah, this hand is disgustingly bad for Turdz. Just disgustingly bad. So, after a first move, you have 5 cards, and there's 8 squares to play in. So there's 40 possible moves. On average, like in a normal random, out of those 40 moves, about 13 lose automatically and about 27 are ties. Maybe like 12 lose automatically and 28 are ties with perfect play after that. Obviously, many times someone makes a losing move there, but the opponent is not going to play perfectly because no one does. And, you're still not necessarily going to lose that game. But just to give a sense, normally out of 40 moves on second turn against a normal starter with a normal hand, maybe 12 are losing. Something like that. And usually it's the 12 ones that look most silly. Here, 36 out of the 40 moves are losing. Turdz has 4 ties here already. And he finds one. 2-6-2-2, which nicely sets up synergies in both 4 and 8. Yeah, this move looks pretty logical to do. Addy goes in 2, and suddenly we're not just not losing. The hands come together, because with big combo potential in both 4 and 8, we can start setting stuff up. How do we want to do it, though? I think my instinct would be, and I haven't looked over to see what the move is yet, my instinct would be something like here. Because Addy can't really go in 6 without us hitting him with a big combo in 8. Or 4, right? Because anything in 6 will be weak to this 2-6-2-2 and 5. So my instinct would be something like that. Turdz grabs safety. I'm just going to see if my move was any good. My move did not win. Does Turdz move win? Turdz move does win. I would have left the combos available, but I guess this just like takes safety and grabs the card in 7. Yeah, no, this looks very good, because Addy gave up his recapture on the card in 7. Yeah, this is already... looks kind of hopeless, because Addy never really has captures in 8 and 9. You know, like, if you do something like this, this is suddenly safe. Not 8 and 9, 6 and 9. And if you do something like this, then something like this is just safe. Yeah. Ooh. Don't know what to go for here. So Addy grabs a card. Addy goes, I can take the card in 5. This is going to be probably my only chance to take it. So Addy takes the card in 5. And it's safe. But Turdz can now get rid of his sideways 6 cards. Notice Turdz's first 3 moves. If we go back to the start, he had these 3 cards that were basically the same. And he's managed to find effective uses for all of them in his first 3 turns. And now suddenly he is left with somewhat more functional cards. You know, with only the row on the right left open, cards with 6s to the right would be terrible here. But none of them are left in his hand. And game ends here, here, and here. So Turdz has so far played 11 games. He has 8 wins to 3 ties, which is a fantastic record. It is better than my record, and I've had a really good start too, but it is clearly better than my record. I think he had 1 game where he was in serious trouble against RandomHero, but he intentionally went into that aiming to exploit his opponent. So I would not count that as a mistake in the same way that you might count other losing moves as a mistake. In this one, he had a really tough spot after the starter and managed to find one of only 4 ties. The others were in, I think, like 4, which is a weird square to play in with all those 6s to the right. I've never played there. I think it said there was a tie in 2, a tie in 5, which he played, and a couple ties in 4. 4 makes no sense to me. So just really difficult position to play, and not only survives, but wins this one. I think I like that we got to see some really effective Ls. It's the formation I associate with Turdz. He picked it up from Nimloth articles, but it's really stood him well that he's just phenomenally good at figuring out what matters there. And that's not trivial, because sometimes it's locking in a card, sometimes it's controlling 5, sometimes it's not allowing big setups, sometimes it's having pressure on their card that's not the one attackable from 5, but the other one. There's a whole lot of things going on in the L, and I think he handles it superbly, and I'm glad we got to see a bunch of them here. And you can play for the L against both corner starters and against side starters. And most of the ones he got were against, I think all the ones he got were against side starters here. So that's Turdz's current run. He has a chance, and if this video comes out and he doesn't achieve it, we'll all feel a little bad, but he actually has a chance to go 20 games undefeated here. He is 11 games in, he has gotten multiple of the really tough games out of the way, and he has a real shot to go for 20. And it'll be really cool if that happens. No one has ever gone 20 games unbeaten in a GB. I believe the only 20-game streak is, in fact, Turdz had a 20-game unbeaten streak, but it was spread over 2 different GBs. I think Delhi has 19. Maybe Fusion Cloud has broken that record. Fusion Cloud started a GB with 19 unbeaten and lost the 20th game to Wingus. So, I mean, huge win for Wingus, and that's got to really sting because he was so close. But I think Turdz is now our best shot at doing this. And I'm going to try to have this video come out soon so it is somewhat relevant. Though, if it doesn't happen, it'll probably make it sting more. And it's really hard to do because it's so easy to get a random on these levels where you just have like 3 1s to the left and like 2 2s, and you just have no play at all. And sometimes you can make up for that with pluses, and there is significant potential for pluses, right? I think you have a little more play here if you're really careful about your moves than you would on other levels, because if the numbers can be anything 1 through 10 or even like 1 through 7 or 8, it's easier for there to just be no pluses you can set up. And the more we compress the numbers to all of them are between 1 and 4, or 1 and 5, or 1 and 6, and lots of games will have no 6s and very few 5s, so mostly between 1 and 4, even if you have no power in a direction, there is often a little more potential to set stuff up and recover. And I think so far Turdz has shown such good directional control and such a good ability at getting the cards out of his hand that he needs to have out of his hand, and keeping the cards that will be relevant to the endgame, that he's going to be incredibly tough for anyone to beat, even if he gets a bad random. And I think he has a real shot to go 20 in open, and considering there's very tough players in the field. I think he still has yet to face Delhi, though I'm not sure if he's faced Delhi yet, and that's always a really, obviously, incredibly tough matchup. But I think he has a chance to do it. If he doesn't, 11 games is already fantastic. But I'm rooting for it to happen here.